Don't move. There is a man out there who will do anything, anything, to make sure you never hear what I'm about to tell you. His name is Gerald, and he already tried to stop this story once before. He failed. Now, whether you've been following every single part of this story, or this is the very first time you're hearing any of it, it doesn't matter, because what happened next affects you too, every single one of you. My name is Scar, and this is the story of the warning that changed everything. Before we get into what happened, you need to know who Marley is, because without understanding this man, the warning means nothing, and what he did with it means even less. Marley wasn't a musician, wasn't a producer, wasn't a manager. He was something harder to explain. Years ago, back in Trinidad, he'd made a promise to a dying musician named Elias, a promise to find the people whose music was locked inside them, the ones who'd been told they'd never make it, the ones the system was designed to silence, and bring them to the door. For 5 years he searched, and in 1963, in Kingston, Jamaica, he found exactly who he was looking for. A teenager, working at a factory during the day, writing songs at night, getting doors slammed in his face, but not stopping. His name was BobMarley, and the moment Marley saw him, he knew. This was the one Elias had been talking about. But there was a problem. There's always a problem. His name was Gerald. Gerald had built a system, an invisible web of control that ran through Kingston's entire music scene. He decided who rose, he decided who fell, he decided whose voice the world would hear and whose voice would disappear. Gerald had already tried to break Bob once. A note, 3 words, handed to Bob after a failed audition. No voice, no future, waste of time. It didn't work. So Gerald started the whispers, rumors through the neighborhood, friends pulling away, neighbors going quiet. That didn't work either. And then Gerald found out about Marley, and everything changed. It came on a Tuesday morning. Marley was sitting alone at a small table outside a Kingston cafe, coffee going cold in front of him, watching the street the way he always did, like he was reading something nobody else could see. A man sat down across from him, nobody Marley recognized, well-dressed, calm, professional. "I have a message," the man said. Marley looked at him, didn't speak. "From someone who has been watching you, someone who knows what you're doing here in Kingston, and someone who would like you to stop." Still nothing from Marley. The man placed an envelope on the table. "Inside is enough money to take you wherever you want to go. London, New York, back to Trinidad, doesn't matter." Marley looked at the envelope, didn't touch it. "And if I don't take it?" he said. The man held his gaze. "Then things become complicated, for you and for the boy." Marley picked up his coffee, finally took a sip, set it down slowly. "Tell your employer," he said, "that I've been warned before, by people much more powerful than him. And I'm still here." The man stood up, took the envelope, walked away without another word. Marley watched him go, then looked back at the street, and kept watching. Here's what the man who delivered that warning didn't see. After he walked away, Marley's hand, the one holding the coffee, was shaking. Just slightly, just enough. Because Marley wasn't fearless. He was afraid. He was afraid because he'd heard that phrase before. Things become complicated for the boy. That was the part that hit him, not the threat against himself, the threat against Bob. He'd found Bob. He'd opened the door a crack, but Bob wasn't through it yet. And if Gerald moved against Bob directly, before Bob was ready, it could end everything. All of it. Elias's promise, 5 years of searching. Every morning, Bob sat in the sand and played for nobody but himself. All of it, gone. Maromro sat at that table for a long time, and then he made a decision. He wasn't going to run. He wasn't going to take the money. But he also wasn't going to fight Gerald directly. That wasn't the move. Gerald had power in the visible world. Labels, connections, money, fear. You don't fight that with the same weapons. You fight it with something Gerald never understood. Truth. Not facts, not arguments. The kind of truth that lives inside music. The kind that, when you hear it, you can't unhear it. The kind that breaks systems not by attacking them, but by making them irrelevant. Maromro had seen it happen once before, with Elias, before Gerald silenced him. Elias had been so close. But this time the voice was already there, already forming, already pushing through. Maromro just needed to make sure nobody cut the power before the whole world heard it. Gerald got the report back from his man. Maromro had refused the money. Gerald sat with that information for a moment. Then, slowly, he smiled. Not because he was pleased, because now he knew exactly what kind of man Maromro was. And that told him exactly how to break him. You don't break a man who refuses money by offering more money. You break him by going after what he actually cares about. Gerald picked up the phone, made one call, and set something in motion that would put Bob Marley in the most dangerous position of his young life. Not a note this time, not whispers, something real, something that would force Bob to make a choice that no 18-year-old should ever have to make. 3 days later, Bob was offered a recording session, legitimate, official, real studio time, through channels that seemed completely clean, no connection to Gerald on the surface, a small producer, good reputation, someone Bob had heard of. The offer came through a mutual contact. "He wants to hear you play," the contact said. "Just you, no audition pressure, just come in and play what you want." Bob hesitated. "Why me?" he asked. "Because people are talking," the contact said. "The right people." Bob thought about it. He thought about the beach that morning, the way the music had felt, the way the door felt like it was finally starting to open. "Okay," he said. "When?" "Friday." Bob nodded and went home to write. By Thursday evening, Maromro knew about the session. He sat with it, turned it over in his mind. Something felt wrong. Not the session itself. Sessions happened. Opportunities appeared. That was how the music world worked. What felt wrong was the timing. 3 days after Gerald's warning, 3 days after Maromro refused the money. A clean offer, clean producer, clean studio. Too clean. Maromro had learned something in 5 years of moving through the music world. When something looks perfectly clean, look for what's underneath. He spent Thursday night finding out everything he could about the producer, and by Friday morning, he had his answer. The producer had one silent partner, one investor who never showed his face, one name that appeared nowhere on any document, but was there. Gerald. Bob was getting ready to go to the session, guitar tuned, notebooks ready, wearing the cleanest shirt he owned. There was a knock at his door. Maromro. Bob opened it, surprised. "I thought you should know something before you walk into that studio today," Maromro said. Bob stepped aside, let him in. Maromro told him everything. The warning, the envelope, his refusal, the producer, the silent partner. Gerald. Bob listened without moving.
When Marumro finished, silence. Then Bob asked one question. "Is the music real?" Marumro frowned. "What do you mean?" "The session, the producer. Is there actually a chance they record something real? Or is it just a trap to get me in a room?" Marumro thought about it. "Both," he said finally. "It's both." Bob nodded slowly, picked up his guitar. "Then I'm going," he said. "I want to stop here for a second, because I know what some of you are thinking. Why would he go, knowing what he knew, knowing who was behind it? But here's the thing about Bob Marley, the thing that Gerald never understood, and the thing that most people miss when they tell this story. Bob wasn't naive. He wasn't reckless. He went because he understood something that took me years to figure out. The music doesn't care about the trap. The music just needs to be played. And once it's played, once it's real, it belongs to everyone. Not to Gerald, not to any system, to everyone. That's the only move that actually works. Play anyway. Gerald set a trap. Bob walked toward it anyway, guitar in hand, music already forming in his chest. Marumro watched him go. And for the first time since Trinidad, since the night he made that promise by the ocean, he wasn't afraid. Because he finally understood what Elias had been trying to tell him all those years ago. You don't protect the voice. You trust it. What happened in that studio on Friday is the next story. And I promise you, you are not ready for it. See you there. I'm Scar. A warning refused. A trap set. A boy walking toward it with nothing but a guitar and something to say. And 2 words. Still waiting. Next story. A 6. The studio. What really happened when Bob walked into Gerald's trap? Coming soon. Subscribe. Don't miss it.